I remember walking on this beach more than 20 years ago, plotting and scheming to take over the bodybuilding world. Well, that didn't quite happen the way I planned it, but it's been an amazing journey nevertheless. If I have to go back to when it all started, it started in the mid-90s in Eastern Europe, Bulgaria of all places, which is our topic for today. What was it like being a bodybuilder back in the 90s in Eastern Europe? Well, it was different. It was different in a good way. You would go to the gym and you would see people that actually want to be there, not because of societal or peer pressure, not because they were chasing an image that they didn't really want. You would go to the gym and you would see 10 to 15 jacked dudes, 3 of them being competitors in their top shape, and just a quick look at their physiques would make you go, wow. So things were way more hardcore, way more competitive. As for the gyms themselves, they were also very different, because bodybuilding was actually banned in Bulgaria up to the early 80s. Gyms were more geared towards overall strength training rather than bodybuilding, so there were very few machines. Most of the gym area would be taken up by free weights like bench presses, squat racks, shoulder presses, racks, things like that. Fancy gyms started being built in the late 90s and early 2000s, luckily for me, and that was the beauty of it. Rusty equipment, chipping off paint, temperatures being close to outside and 0 degrees, not being able to buy the supplements or the food you needed. All of this kind of develops a mentality in you that makes you believe that you don't really need anything special to build a great physique. And in my mind, you only needed 3 things. That is a healthy, uninjured version of your body, a gym, and an idea or a vision of the way you want to look. In other words, you take your God-given talents, your willpower, and you only need some basic conditions to facilitate the change. When it comes to the way you were perceived by society as a bodybuilder, things were also very different. For example, here in the UK, if you're a bodybuilder, the feelings towards you would be mostly positive. Back in Bulgaria, they would be mostly negative. And that is because there is this false perception of Bulgaria as being a part of Europe. And because you see Europe is a civilized place and Bulgaria is part of Europe, therefore Bulgaria is like the rest of Europe, which really isn't the case. So how did this come to be? In the beginning of the 90s, after the fall of the regime, law and order started to fall apart, and we saw something quite unprecedented in the history of the world, where a bunch of athletes like bodybuilders, powerlifters, weightlifters, wrestlers, martial artists and so on took over the country, not without the help of members of the former elite and the former regime, and were used to terrorize the population with the sole purpose of making it believe that democracy is a bad thing. And you see crime, lawlessness, corruption all come when you get democracy. Unfortunately, the population fell for this many times and kept electing the wrong people time and time again. But the political situation aside, we have to talk about your daily interactions with other people. Because no matter who you were, no matter what you did, you would get to meet some of these people. If you want to go out and have fun, you would get to meet some of them. If you want to go out and do your shopping, you would get to meet some of them. If you want to go out on the street, you would get to meet some of them. That is really not the reason why I got into bodybuilding, but very soon I got to find out that one of the added benefits of bodybuilding is that you tend to get a lot of respect even from these people. Nobody wants to mess with you if you're a bodybuilder, and why would they? It makes no sense whatsoever. However, as far as the perception of the population is concerned, they would see you as potentially one of them. Hence the negative feelings towards strength athletes in Eastern Europe and Bulgaria in particular. One of the other things typical of those days was the lack of information. For example, if nowadays you want to find the latest research on anything nutrition, bodybuilding or training related, you just go on Google and it comes up in a matter of seconds. Back in the day that wasn't the case. The only way to get information was to walk up to someone and ask. And the problem with that is that you could take their word for it or not. And even if you did, there was no way to know if what they were saying was true. Because, for example, what was working for them could be working for them because of their genetics or some other factors they were not telling you about. It took me up to a year to work up the courage to take protein powder, because we were really not sure what the side effects of taking protein powder were. We thought that there were some hidden side effects that nobody else knew about. And also there was this big stigma towards taking any kinds of supplements, because if, for example, you take protein powder, that meant that you are somehow not a natural bodybuilder anymore, because that does not equate to taking or eating chicken or eggs. So those are very strange times, and it really wasn't easy. The other problem with walking up to people and asking questions like that is that if a 60-year-old lady at the post office can tell you off and have a go at you for half an hour for not having the right amount of change, what is a 110-kilogram bodybuilder going to do when you walk up to them and ask what the best protein powder is? I mean, you need to understand that this is Eastern Europe, and nobody truly classes as an approachable person. And in that sense, that wasn't making things easier for anyone. So that is it in a nutshell, guys. A few words about the location we're in. We are in Poole, Dorset, where I currently live. So if you're based anywhere in Devon, Dorset, Hampshire or London, where I go constantly on a weekly basis, feel free to link up with me. I'm always happy to talk about bodybuilding. Thank you for watching. Don't forget to like the video and subscribe to the channel, and I will see you in the next one.